All right, everyone, welcome to the show. It is the Talking Turkey podcast, fantasy football podcast with myself, Kamish Manny Jimenez, Mahad Tim Lewis over in Colorado, and everyone's cup of tall, warm coffee, Cody Williams.
Extra
Thank you
cream.
guys. Extra cream, extra sugar. That's right. Thank you guys for being here today. Lots of great matches to talk about. We had two Monday night games that we talked about that were going to be kind of boring, but not boring, just terrible in the way they're set up, terrible in the way they're structured. But the games themselves were okay, I guess, but not a lot to talk about when it comes to excitement. We expected, outcomes, and the Bengals-Rams game was a dud until the end of the game. So we'll kind of go back into that era, but let's move on to our matchups and what happened this week here. So moving back into that Monday night game, we can see all the scores from the week, the matchups that we had. We had Carlos playing Angel, Javi playing Rob, Edgar playing Alex, Mahai Timmy playing Ricky, Andrew playing Cody, and myself with Romo rounding it off. And that first matchup with Angel and Carlos, very tight game, very close game. Tim, what were your takeaways from that matchup? We have a lot to talk about with that game, and I want to know your thoughts on Angel's strategic tactics.
I mean, I get it, but I think that's a little too safe. Like, not even playing a flex. Like, what are the odds of a flex guy getting you a negative score? But hopefully he doesn't need those points at the end of the year. We'll see, because I think he had a good amount of bench points. So trying to think of what guy he had on his bench that he could have played in his flex, like would have gotten him at least 15 points. But hey, he won, so that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, he chalked the W. Cody, go ahead and set some context for us. What did we see that we called Angel out late and going into the Monday night game?
Angel had, as you can see the score was in place Sunday night. Carlos had no one else to go, and Angel was up clearly by 6 points here. He went ahead and benched his defense. He has the Eagles defense. He went ahead and benched his flex receiver, which he could have, chosen to play. Who was it here? Oh, Nakua, who he had. And I think he even benched his kicker. He even benched his kicker. Carlson, which hits close to home. He's a Raider fan, so yeah, he really just benched everyone going into Sunday night football and took the 6 point lead and just said, "I'm shutting it down. We're gonna end it here. I'll take the W." It's a little close to home for me because 2 years ago when I ended up winning this league, there was a tiebreaker, I believe, between me and Tim. For 8th place, and because of points for on the overall season, I got 8th, which got me into the playoffs, and then Tim, I believe, placed 9th. And then from there happened to go on a run. But yeah, our records were tied and it went to a tiebreaker. So hopefully Angel doesn't have to learn the hard way from that. We'll see what happens. He just took the W. His team's rolling right now. He's got a stacked receiving core along with Lamar. So maybe he just doesn't even care. He's just going to keep benching people into the sunset and just keep taking dubs. We'll see.
Yeah,
I just checked though. He would have had 35 more points.
35 more points if he started
19
starters.
Points from the Philly defense. 3 points from Daniel Carlson and 13 points from DK Metcalf if he played him. So, that's a lot of points. It wouldn't have given him high score, obviously, but you never know. So,
yeah. Angel's a big primetime fan. We call him Primetime in our little circle of friends. So maybe he watched that Coach Prime game on Saturday, felt bad. He's like, Coach Prime got their team laid to the wood by Oregon, so maybe he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that to Carlos. I'm not going to put up an extra 30 burger on him. So, Angel being a little too nice there. Yeah. But yeah, spread offense team that he has, they are putting up points with Lamar being very consistent, 25 points from Lamar, 25 points from Jefferson. So you get 50 points from two players, you're always in a good spot there, right? So his team looking really, really solid down stretch. Carlos's team, definitely some, question marks there. He does got Amon-Ra and Jared Goff stacked there. Rashid Shaheed is a great little asset there too when it comes to wide receiver, but he definitely has the deficiency on the running back position. And that's something he'll probably have to address this week. What do you guys think there?
Yeah, we'll see. Carlos now, I think with this loss, moves to 1-2 on the season. Taking a look at the overall standings, he's the only team that has not yet cracked 200 points. Even Andrew and Romo, who are 0-3, have over 200 points, but Carlos is still kind of stuck at 185, and it could be those running back deficiencies that are really kind of holding him back there.
Oh yeah,
He does have Kamara coming back this week, so
that should help. Yeah, no one has been playing in his absence has really taken the job away. So yeah, that should help. But is it already a little too late for that? We'll see.
We'll see.
And they're playing Tampa, so not exactly. Well, DeAndre Swift ran all over him last night, but
Eagles
they're usually tough to run on. Yeah. So he might be rusty in his first game back, but who knows? We'll see.
What we did see though, when Kamara and potentially Winston being the starter this week in the lineup, Winston really is not great at dumping the ball to the running back, and that's where Kamara makes a lot of his bread and butter. So I don't know how much upside he has in that role until Carr gets back in the lineup. All right, let's talk about that second game. Javi versus Rob. Two undefeated teams up to this point. All right, both teams looking sharp. Rob being the big surprise of the season again. Can't stop talking about the guy. He's almost averaging 100 a game. He was the draft day darling, just kind of getting ribbed on, and he's shining through, looking great. He went up. Jalen Hurts put up a big number for him. James Conner is probably the most surprising player on his team, right? He's had a very good season so far with Arizona, which I did not expect. We all expected Arizona to be a dumpster fire, which they have not been, right? Huge win over the Cowboys, and AJ Brown finally stepped up for him, and Travis Kelce, of course, is number one pick. So Rob's team's starting to fill out a little bit here. Cody, I know you got some personal love for Javi. I'll let you talk about this game.
I mean, Javi's team, it just kind of seems he has so many Cowboys. I forgot he's a Cowboy fan now. He's got the Cowboys defense. He has Dak Prescott. He also has CeeDee Lamb. He probably wanted to draft Pollard, but you took him from him. So I think just depending on how the Cowboys perform is going to be how his team performs. They lost to the Cardinals. Here we go. Javi taking the L to Rob. I reached out to Rob. He's 3-0. He was making fun of his own team on draft day. I don't know if he remembers that, but he was not just getting ripped on draft day. He was ripping on himself on draft day as well. I reached out for a quote from Rob about his 3-0 start and beating Javi, who was previously in first place, after 2 weeks. He did tell me, you just got to have your Taylor Swiftie friendship bracelet on Sundays. So maybe you can translate that however you'd like. That was the quote he gave me on his 3-0 start. So maybe he has Kelce on his team. He's listening to a lot more Taylor Swift all of a sudden. So maybe he's going to plan and ride his tight end strategy into an undefeated season. That's kind of what I took from
it. Sure. Yeah. Taylor Swiftie bracelet. I got nothing. I don't know. I can't translate that, but good for him. I mean, he does have pretty good team so far. Like you said, Manny, James Conner's definitely a surprise, as are the Cardinals. Obviously they hired a good coach because they should not be as competitive as they have been. I know Dallas was, missing some offensive linemen. They lost Diggs, but still, Dallas should not be losing to them unless they're getting out coached. So
the talent level on Dallas shouldn't have allowed that to happen. They just got so much talent on both sides of the ball. It was very shocking game to see. That was definitely surprising the weekend.
And I mean, another positive for Rob, he got this W, almost scored 100 points without one of his picks, David Montgomery, which helped him win in week 1. And he's even still got Christian Watson coming back from the hamstring injury, which should be the Packers' #1 receiver. So that should only help his team.
Yeah. I got no bad blood with Rob. Shout out to T Swizzle, and I don't mess with the Swifties. They're a bad bunch, so let them be, and they're gonna have a good time. Javi's team, on the other hand, he's definitely taken some losses these first couple weeks. Lost Saquon last week. He lost Mike Williams this week. Hurts me. Being the Justin Herbert manager, I love him as a quarterback, and I think that wide receiving core was great. It still is very good, but Mike Williams does help open the field for Keenan Allen. But that's a huge loss for the Chargers. I know Tim's our resident Chargers guy. He's always the most critical. He loves them, but very critical. How are they going to move forward without Williams for the season, Tim?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think not having him is a big reason they lost in the playoffs last year, and they haven't really. Quentin Johnston's only played like, I don't know, 20% of the snaps so far, maybe, barely being targeted. I don't know. I don't know why they're not using him, or I don't know if he's just not that great yet. It's hard to say, but hopefully he'll step up and, kind of. I don't know if he can fill Mike Williams' shoes exactly, but he is kind of that deep threat. He's fast, and I didn't really understand why they haven't used him to this point. So, but it's hard to replace a guy like that. He's just a huge target, and he's the jump ball guy. He can, just chuck it down the field to him. He'll make big plays usually at least once a game. So, yeah, it'll be tough, but hopefully Eckler will be back this week. That'll take the sting off a little bit, but we'll see.
Yep. Javi, don't worry. We got you. We got some waiver wire pickups that you could be targeting later on in the show. So keep listening. Next matchup, Edgar versus Alex. The AI finally wins. Go Watson, right? Finally got it done. And Edgar put up a good game, As I was watching that Sunday night game with Pittsburgh Raiders, I saw Edgar really – I was like, oh my goodness, is Devontae really doing what I'm seeing here? Devontae Adams was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, he was so good. Garoppolo just wouldn't target anyone else. It was kind of crazy. So yeah, great game from him. And so he had 34 from Tua, 32 from Adams, 12 from Sanders. So he put himself in a good position with the 122 score, but the AI finally came through, Keenan Allen, what we just talked about. So Mike Williams, what's interesting about the Chargers, when one of them goes down, the other one has a monster game. It's so weird. That's how they operate. So, Keenan Allen had a great game. McCaffrey is going to be always consistent to almost 20 points a game, and Mahomes. So, good. Congratulations, Alex, on your first win. You can go give IBM and ChatGPT some donations now to keep them going. Good for you. Anything you guys see from that matchup that stuck out to you? What do you guys feel about Tua? What are your prospects on Tua for the rest of the season? Because probably the most interesting player on that.
I mean, I think it's kind of what everyone thought going in. As long as he stays healthy, avoids a concussion, then he'll be on one of the top 3 to 5 offenses in the whole league. And all he has to do is get the ball out quick to Hill, to Waddle, all of a sudden now to Achane, Mostert, and then they'll just do the rest. So he's kind of just doing what we thought he would do as long as he stayed healthy. We'll see if it continues through the year. He's already lost one quarterback. I would hate to see him lose another one. But Tua and that whole Dolphins team has really looked like the team to beat this year.
Yeah. And I mean, Tua's the betting favorite for MVP in a lot of places right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, for good reason. He didn't even throw an incompletion until, I don't know, the fourth quarter or something. He only had 3 incompletions. He had more touchdowns than incompletions. It was against Denver, which I don't know what's going on there, but they do look. And he didn't even have Waddle this week. I don't remember if Waddle was out last week.
Waddle sustained the concussion last week, and so that's why he was
mid-game last week. Yeah, so I mean, when they've got everyone out there now, they got Achane. I mean, he looks pretty good too. I mean, they got such a good offense now.
Yeah,
all of a
so
sudden,
fast,
it's
so quick.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to defend.
All right, we got a quick little dilemma here, though. So I just heard Tim say Achane, and I heard Cody say Achane. I was blown away today. I was watching NFL News today. Achane has actually come out and said, yes, it's pronounced Achane. Everyone's saying my name. And I'm like, whoa, but even since I look back, even in college, they were saying Achane on broadcasts and everything. So He came out finally today, told the media it's Achane. I was like, oh, okay. Everyone's mispronouncing your name. Good for you, man. He wanted that blow up game and call me what I want to be called now.
Yeah, exactly. After you have the big game, then it's like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna switch it up on you all. Now you have to listen to me.
I remember when I first saw his name, I thought it was pronounced probably something like that, or Achane, and when I heard people saying Achane, I was like, oh, that kind of sounds cooler, I guess. But hey, what is it? So it's Achane.
Achan.
Chan, yeah,
Achan.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
something
Achan it
similar
is.
with like the Kamara, with him as well. And everyone's saying, oh, it's supposed to be, it's not like the car, it's supposed to be, Kamara. And then he came out and said, oh, it's Kamara,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the A chain or train at idioms people were doing all out the window. So we're gonna have to find a new rhyme for Achan, but we'll talk about him later. Obviously, the number one player of the weekend. It was an incredible game he had, but yeah, we'll talk about that during the waiver wire segment. Next game, Mile High Timmy versus Ricky. So Tim, I know you had a tough last matchup last week. Ricky, had a good week this week. So explain your game to us. How did that go down like that?
I've got no running backs, got no quarterback. That's about it. I mean, I'm still surprised that I got 88 points. But when you go up against a team that gets 33 points from their defense, you're usually not going to win unless the rest of their team takes a dump, which unfortunately his didn't. So he had Purdy and Samuel give him another 40 points, and it's is what it is. Yeah, you're usually if your opponent scores 116 in our league, more often than not, you're probably not going to win. But just so drop 2 in a row now. Hopefully, it's not going to be 3 in a row.
Good, Cody. Ricky's now broken away, got his first win away from you, right? The baby has been removed from the teat. So, How do you feel? Are you happy for him? Are you happy for your protege?
I'm so proud of him. A lot of people thought he wasn't going to win a game this year, but I knew he'd get at least one. So I'd just like to say I'm proud. He was actually involved in what looks like 2 trades that went on in our league. So he's making moves. He's trying to improve his roster. One of the players that he got from me on Sunday, he's already flipped without even having him play a game to you, Manny. Yeah, like Tim said, the Bills defense did get 33, which was a big total, but he still didn't win, with 90 points. He put up over 115. What is it? 116. So even without that, huge take 20 points away from the defense, he's still putting up a respectable score. Like Tim mentioned, Purdy and Debo on Thursday night to start it off really got his team going. So hopefully these moves really kind of help him get, maybe another win within these next 3 games. We'll see.
Yeah, there we go. 2 out of 5. Let's hope. Yeah. So Tim, you talked about your quarterback woes and your running back deficiency there. The running back or the quarterback position for you, Justin Fields, is it Dumpsville for Justin? Is it time to high fly and move on? I mean, there's some options there out there in the waiver wire. It might be a streaming option for you from here on out for the season. But what is, what's your mindset? Are you just done with him, or is it hold and have him sit on a roster spot and hopefully he'll come out of his funk?
At this point, it's like what that thing Cody shared in our group chat with Justin Fields owners looking at and seeing Denver coming up. It's like Stafford, he scored less than Fields did this week. It's 5 points to 7 points, not a huge difference. It wouldn't have mattered, but I mean, I think I just have to wait and see. I don't want to drop him yet, but unless I start to see some changes, he's still not running the ball at all, which is just mind-boggling. I don't know if he's got a leash on him where they're telling him not to run, because he's just not running at all. And I don't know. It's tough to give up on him this early. He was a slow starter last year too. He had all of his monster games in the second half of the year. So I just gotta, hold out and pray.
Yeah, I think Tim's got it right. If you look at last year, he did have that slow start. And then after, I think it was their bye week in week 7 or 8, he came back and they had tailored the offense more to his skill set, and he was running more and then just starting scoring massive fantasy point games. So someone with the Joe Burrow thing we talked about last week, it was a little easier to cut him because he doesn't have that rushing upside. He just wasn't healthy. Here, it's just, we don't quite know. It's something with the offense. You still have to kind of hold on to Fields, keep a roster spot for him. Maybe after their bye week this year, he just starts banging out 30, 40-point games like he did last year. So I kind of agree with Tim. I think you kind of need to hold on to him here.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Eberflus last year, what I don't understand is you have a whole half season of tape from last season, and you saw what he excelled in. Letting him be creative, letting him use his legs, open up the pocket, break away from the pocket, force the defense to chase him. He's so much better in that way, and you have that tape. So I don't understand why they wouldn't utilize that skill set. Secondly, I don't think it's all on fields. There was a lot of drop balls. I mean, we were talking about in our chat, Tim, like, Ricky was like, "Oh, Justin Fields sucks." Like, no, he doesn't suck. Like, look at the wide open balls that his receivers are dropping. I mean, literally breadbasket catches that are just being dropped. It's kind of crazy. So I think it's just a weird function of the offense right now. If 2 or 3 of those catches go the other way, he has a decent game, probably puts up 15, 16 points in the day. So,
like he threw a perfectly thrown pass to DJ Moore. It would have been 40 or 50 yards. That was just dropped. And then the next play, it's an interception. It's like, does that interception happen if DJ Moore catches that pass before? Probably not.
Not.
They're closer to scoring range. Who knows? Maybe he'll rush in for a touchdown once they just never, they're never even in the red zone. It seems like it's hard to figure what's going on there, but they sure are a terrible team. They're like, I thought Arizona was going to be as bad as the Bears are. And the Bears are headed towards another number 1 pick, it looks like.
Yeah, and we'll talk about their matchup this week, which is going to be a good way to close out this our show. Let's get into the second last game here. Cody's game versus Andrew. So Andrew, newcomer. Cody, former champ, right? Cody's he's
3-time champ.
Okay, what? Not 3-time in this league.
3 times.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
Correct.
3 times with Ricky. We're gonna count it up solo.
All right, 1 solo, 2 solo, and then 1 with Ricky.
All right, there we go. But yeah, very experienced, understand what goes on in this league, knows what it takes to win. Lots of, you need depth, and you need to have be intelligent with your decisions. Andrew's a newcomer, learning. So tell us about your matchup. I know you didn't put up as high score as you want, but seemed like you were not worried one bit in the least with your 71-60 win.
I mean, definitely not. Andrew, being the new person in the league, was coming into this matchup 0-2. I almost forgot to set my lineup and still wasn't quite worried about it just because his team is pretty weak. His highest score was Kirk Cousins, got half the total, as you can see, 60 points. He's got Najee Harris. His other running back he's running out there is Dalvin Cook, who's a backup running back on a bad team with no offensive line. When you just go down, DeAndre Hopkins got him 4 points. He's old and washed up. Jalen Reed is like the number 3 receiver on a good team, and he's starting him as well. He started Washington's defense against the Bills and their strong offense. I don't know why he thought to do that. Here's your -1 point. He might as well have just benched them. If you have a good defense, right, but they're playing a really good offense, I got to tip Andrew. Either drop them, bench them. Negative points are a thing, and clearly it affected you here. You took the L to my team. I think we play again later this year. I'm looking forward to it. I can use another W here. I'm 2-1. I think I got Carlos next, and then a big matchup with Ricky. So I'm really hoping to go 4-1 in the first 5 weeks here, looking ahead a little bit. I asked Andrew, I reached out to him, to try and get him on the podcast here. He's the new guy, as you mentioned, here in the league. He's 0-3. Is this tougher than he thought it was going to be? He said once Cup, and he did misspell Cup. He spelled it C-U-P-P, by the way. Once Cup and Eckler, he misspelled Eckler, E-K-L-E-R. Come back. It's all going to be okay. I had a bad streak. I didn't accept Manny's trade, but I'm sure I'll be on a win streak soon. And then he corrected it in the next text. So he's having some spelling errors. I think he's not right mentally here with the matchups. It's in his head at this point. Better days might be ahead for him. He could be the one buying all the carne asada for the party. That's my early pick right now. If Tua's the MVP for the NFL, Andrew's definitely the odds-on favorite to be last place in the Turkey Bowl.
Tim, anything you'd add to that?
I don't know how to follow that. It's pretty harsh, but I mean, yeah, it is. I kind of thought the same thing when I saw that he started the Washington defense, which is really not a good defense. They gave up 32 points to the Broncos last week against the Bills, which, pretty good offense. They struggled against the Jets, but He's got a point. He's got that. Eckler's been out a couple weeks. We'll see whenever Cooper Kupp is back. That will certainly help. But yeah, it's definitely a tough start for him.
Got to whack up those wins, and he spelled Eckler right, Eckler. Right?
Yeah, that's correct.
It's been Eaksville for a couple weeks here. Who knows if he starts this week? So I don't know. Yeah, Eckler managers are hoping that he comes back. I know a lot of fantasy teams are getting taken to the woodshed because of some of those. Right? If you drafted Eckler and Kupp, yeah, you're like, oh my goodness, when is this gonna right the ship? So hopefully he comes back this week. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Yeah, you talked about Cody, a trade I made. I'd had Kelly, his backup for the last couple weeks. I got rid of him, shipped him off to Ricky.
Over there.
Go ahead, Ricky. It's all yours. It's your problem now. So yeah, all good there.
Yeah, he's not Eckler.
He's not Eckler. No, he's not. Joshua Kelly is not Eckler.
And Andrew had to know what he was getting into with Kupp too. Like he was going to miss at least the first 4 weeks, if not more. So. We'll see.
I mean, it's why he got him in the 4th or 5th round whenever he did.
Right. Yeah. Someone was going to take him, obviously, but you knew you're going to wait for him. So
he brought up that trade offer that he said he passed up on me. So after week 1, I made this very clear on the chat, and as we were talking this last Sunday, because we saw 2 of my players on my roster go bananas, the last couple weeks, and especially this week. So Raheem Mostert on my roster and Mike Evans last week. Both have had great back-to-back weeks, actually, but Mostert being out of this world with his matchup against Denver, which no one saw that coming, but it is Denver. Who knows if that'll remain consistent. But I offered them to multiple players, that package of those 2 players, all denied. And I get it, but now everybody's looking back like, damn, I would have won the 2 weeks if I had both those players this week, So
you had them both in your lineup for this week with your matchup here against Romo. How do you feel about your matchup going into it? Romo right now, I believe he's 0-3 after this matchup, so he was 0-2 going into it. You've been just stomping people. How'd you feel going into the matchup?
I felt good. I'm a big fan of Justin Herbert. That's a set it and forget it for me. I want as many set it and forget it guys as I can. Kenneth Walker has now turned that into that for me. Both my running backs, Pollard and Walker, are turning into set it forget it guys, which is great. I don't want to make those decisions, right? I want them made for me in that way. But yeah, in that flex spot, I was deciding between Mostert or Mike Evans or someone. I had Ayuk out. I'm like, Mostert's got a great matchup against Denver. I just saw what Brian Robinson did to Denver the week prior. I'm I'm going Mostert in that 3rd spot, and we saw what happened that Miami game. They put up 70 points. Everybody knows the score. It's been the talk of the town all week. Miami's offense is incredible. They're fast. They're quick. Tua, you said Tim, Tua's an MVP candidate. They look great. Tyreek Hill, he's money every week. He's going to guarantee get you 20 points. It's awesome. But surprising the backfield, right? The backfield there. Right now, it was not muddied waters because there was only 2 available, Mostert and Achan. But Jeff Wilson is coming back. Savon Ahmed is coming back. I think Savon Ahmed is going to default to the 4th string running back. Jeff Wilson will probably be 3rd string. Achan will definitely be sharing time with Mostert as I see going forward. But are they going to play the Denver Broncos every week? Of course they're not. But it was a very plus matchup in that favor, and I was looking forward to it. But I would say what I'm happiest most about, like what I've seen from my team, is Kenneth Walker. Right, that was the one kind of like unsure thing because he's really, really talented, and we've all seen it. But it's the health part. But he's fighting it off. He's playing great. Seattle's looking good. So if Kenneth Walker can be that dude for me, be number 1 RB, I love my running back room. So that's feeling good about where my 3-0 start is. And I think I just took the top spot with points for, right? So
I believe so as well over Javi, who I believe had it last week. And so that put you firmly in first place. I mean, on the other side, if you're Romo and you have his roster, you're 0-3, your previous, champion, I believe 3 years ago he won, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, which, anyone with the Jets was looking good prior to that first game of the year. Javonte Williams, he's got Addison and Chase. I mean, Tim, do you feel like if you're 0-3, do you feel the need to like just make a trade and switch it up for him in that situation?
I mean, Jamar Chase finally had a decent game at least. but I mean, I think you got to do something. I don't know what he does exactly. He's relying on the Jaguars pretty heavily with Lawrence and ETN as his quarterback and number one running back. So, and they've started very slow. I mean, I don't think anyone really saw them losing to the Texans, especially in the fashion they did this week. So, I mean, if you start 0-3, you definitely got to look at all possibilities. But, he put up a decent score this week, 86, but, this was up against a freight train. So you're not going to win. If you play someone who's got 154 in this league, that's a pretty rare score. So not much he could do this week.
Yeah, breaking the 150 mark is very rarely seen, throughout the season. Our scoring is not as generous as other platforms and other leagues. So, we're not PPR, we're a standard format, 10 yards per reception, or 10 yards for every player, whether running back or wide receiver. So very, very stringent in that way. And so when players, we're a very touchdown dependent league as well, right? So our players, when they score touchdowns, it shows significantly, right?
Yeah.
So, but we'll see what the Romo does. If I was Romo, the team's fine. Yeah, he started 0-3, but I don't project the Jags are gonna be, stay in this funk. They're working through some things right now. I don't know what it is. Trevor Lawrence doesn't look right, but their team is good. Even their defense is much improved than it was last year. They were hand in hand with the Chiefs all the way to the end of the game. So I don't see that being a monster issue, but I think they'll get out of this funk very, very quickly.
I thought their defense was good too until this week. So, I mean, I picked them. It was my waiver pick last week, and then they're probably one of the worst this week. So, it's just hard to figure out early in the year what's going on. It's a lot of stuff's kind of muddy at the beginning. So,
well, if we talk about the Texans as a team, I think they're a huge surprise. I think CJ Stroud's probably the most surprising quarterback on the season. He's been outstanding. He's a top 5 quarterback right now. Tank Dell is a top 10 wide receiver right now. So they throw the ball again 35 times a game. Damian Pierce's production is actually taking a hit because of how much they throw the ball. They're not afraid to. They have a good offensive line. They know that, and I think they're actually going to be a surprise team in the NFL this year. I mean, they can really rack up some wins in that division.
Yeah, and I referred to them as a bad offense a couple weeks ago, but I don't know if I was right about that. I expected them to be bad, but Damian Pierce is maybe just not as good as we thought. I don't know. It's hard to say because they're moving the ball, and he's just only averaging like 2 yards, 3 yards a carry, somewhere in that range. So hard to say because he looked really good at times last year on a far worse offense. So
yeah, who knows? He might. And prior to this week, you would have thought like, oh, they're coming from behind in these games. They have that negative game script, so they can't really hand the ball off. They have to just throw. In this game, they were even, if not leading with the Jags most of it. So you thought, okay, here's the game. Damian Pierce does Damian Pierce things, and I think he still was 14 carries and like 30 yards. So just a little over 2.1 yards per carry. I mean, that's not going to do it in the game where you would expect the running back to have that volume. He just didn't get it still. It was still the CJ, Stroud show.
Well, the coach came out and said after the win, we drafted the right guy. Like, they're happy with him. They love him.
If you go back, I think the Panthers would actually take him over Bryce Young at number 1. If they went back and redid that draft, he would have to be the number 1 pick at this point.
I kind of thought they would, but that was just because I thought Bryce Young. I still think he's too small. I mean, he's already hurt a couple games in, and I think he'll still be okay. But he looks so tiny out there. I don't know how good he'll be.
It's concerning when Andy Dalton comes in as your backup and has a better performance than you do. I mean, that's just kind of problematic too.
Yeah.
That's it.
And, great. Adam Thielen came alive too this week. So
look at you guys setting context for the next segment, right? Let's get into that waiver. Let's talk the turkeys, right? The turkeys that we're gonna get going for week 4. I love it, right? We brought up some names there. Adam Thielen, a couple of Carolina Panthers, which I didn't expect. Two dudes who seems you think it's 2015, right? The way we're talking about these guys, it's 2023, and we're still talking about Andy Dalton and Adam Thielen. So I love it. But yeah, waiver targets for the week have been very, very up and down so far with our suggestions, but I think we've guided people in the right way and what they're going to do. Now we've added this fact that we're the three of us are trying to trend in players that are not really rostered, and you can see that most definitely on my team right now that I'm targeting players, right? So with my first quarterback selection for the week, Jameis Winston. We know Derek Carr went down against the Packers last week. Packers had that great win at home. Jordan Love is that dude. I'm sold on him. He's great. He's so consistent. He's everything I expected him to be. He's a little bit more than a game manager, but he gets the job done, and he's doing a good job at Green Bay. But that game saw Derek Carr go down, and who we have up? Jameis Winston, Mr. Smiles. He's, Mr. Hip Movement. He's great if you're willing to deal with the interceptions, right? That's going to happen.
Yep.
The eyesight issue was a couple years back, right before COVID. I believe he blamed the eyesight, and he got LASIK surgery to correct that. But yeah, Jameis Winston is rostered in. I thought it was 0% of leagues, but it's 0.1%. 0.1.
He
but
owns
Jameis
himself
Winston,
in a league, and that qualifies.
Yeah. And why did I pick Jameis Winston? Like, what are you, nuts? It's a revenge game. He's going up against the Bucks, right? He's going to have a lot of juice behind him. He's got a great wide receiving core, Rashid Shaheed, Olave. He's going to have Michael Thomas. He gets Kamara back this week. We talked about that. So, that's Carlos' team. He's got weapons. You got to be able to put at least 200 yards, couple TDs. For me, that's a productive game out of a QB. You'll take those stats any day. You just don't want to be hit with those single digits from the QB position. So Jameis Winston, go look for him. I guarantee you he's out on your waiver wire.
How much are you looking to spend on Fab on him? Because Carr is still, according to the coaching staff, like week to week, they're being cagey. With the injury, maybe they're just trying to make it seem like he'll play and he won't. But if it's up in the air, how much are you spending on Winston?
0.1% Fab.
Oh, okay, there it is.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I'm at with that.
Okay, try to get him for free.
If somebody wants him for $1, hey, you go.
Okay,
go for it. Yeah. So
not everyone's going to need a quarterback necessarily, so you shouldn't have too much competition to try to get him. But yeah, I don't know, couple bucks maybe. Yeah. But
what about you?
He could play a couple weeks. So
yeah.
What was that, sir?
Oh no, so you're talking about your pick. I love this pick. Actually,
this is a good one.
Yeah, I mean he could be back maybe week 5. Kyler Murray, and I think if the Cardinals were as bad as we thought they were going to be, who knows if he was even ever going to play? But they're playing. They're shockingly competitive, and he should be back within a couple weeks if you can stash him. Now would be the time for sure. He's, I don't think he's a great real life quarterback, but he's a pretty good fantasy quarterback, especially, when they're playing any weaker teams, weaker defenses, he should be able to put up some numbers. So, yeah, so that would be a good one.
Yeah. No, I love it. Being a couple years back, I had Murray in his second year as a quarterback starter. He was incredible for me. He was great. Loved what he could do with the ball. Again, great for fantasy, terrible real life quarterback, right? We want to see our quarterbacks actually read the playbook. So hopefully he's changed his ways a little bit.
I mean, from a fantasy perspective, quarterbacks that run are extra valuable. If he's coming back from a knee injury, how much do you expect him to actually be that old Kyler Murray getting you those fantasy points, scrambling around, running around?
Yeah, but I mean, he was chucking the ball to DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, pretty consistently, and Nuke is a special player. We know that, but he was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Right,
that's the concern, obviously. If he's going to be the same, but he's young, so and these ACL injuries nowadays don't seem to be as devastating as they might have been a long time ago. So
back when you guys were playing,
Yeah, it might be a slow start for him in his first couple of starts, but still could pay off down the road. So
14% rostered, so definitely out there in 75% of leagues.
yeah.
I mean,
Cody, what about you?
I was gonna say it's comical that Kyler's 14% owned, hasn't played, might play week 5, maybe a little bit later, more likely. And the QB I picked is just 1% higher, and he's been playing all 3 games. He's got good weapons. Baker Mayfield, he's out there kind of scrambling around, closing his eyes, throwing it up to Mike Evans. But Mike Evans is so good, he's coming down with it and catching it. Prior to this week, which you played the Eagles, against the Eagles defense, you're probably going to bench most of your guys if you have other options. Mayfield was averaging 18 points a game, which is exactly what you would want out of a streaming quarterback. As Tim had mentioned, he had picked up Stafford, who got him 5 points. So there is kind of that range there where you are taking but Baker's got good weapons. His schedule coming up, he gets to play New Orleans. So it's, Manny's pick going against my pick here. They are indoors. They're playing in New Orleans, so I think that can only kind of help his receivers out. And so I think he would be a good pickup to grab this week and just hope those weapons get him going. Maybe get a couple touchdowns. His running back's not great at scoring goal line carries. Last week, Evans' 1 touchdown came on that fade, so he's good for 4, maybe 8 points, depending on if he can get 1 or 2 of those goal line fade touchdowns there.
This goes back to, what I talked about a couple weeks ago with Mike Evans. He's played with so many different quarterbacks, and he's always produced.
Yep.
I expected no different, and I'm seeing exactly what I thought I would. Even last night's game, Baker threw that ball across the middle, and Mike Evans had to make this remarkable one-handed reverse, hand behind the head catch, and then get twisted around by the defender. I thought he broke his back. I was like, oh, I lost Mike Evans for this season. But no, he came back and he scored a touchdown on the same drive. So yeah. Mike Evans is he's an incredible athlete. He's great for
best friend, really. Yeah. I mean, he's got the size of a tight end, maybe not, the thickness, but the size of a tight end and the speed of a receiver and, the hands of a god. So, he's just out there doing the Lord's work for Baker.
Oh yeah,
he's playing for a new contract too, which
that definitely helps.
Kind of like Josh Jacobs last year. Who, I don't know where Josh Jacobs is this year, but anyway. So.
Tim, that was high on my radar when I drafted him this season. I was like, "Oh, Mike Evans is in contract year. Oh, yes, please."
I can't deny it. That definitely seems to motivate these guys who, he's missed games every year with hamstrings and things like, well, maybe not every year, I don't know, but he seems to always miss a couple games a year with some ailment. We'll see. I have a feeling he'll play every game this year. So
we'll see. Let's hope.
Although really, you just
got rid of him, so you don't care.
Let's hope he plays for his team.
I did just trade him away. Yeah, so what they're talking about is Ricky and I just engaged in a trade. So I traded away Raheem Mostert, Mike Evans, and Joshua Kelly to Ricky's team. And in return, I'm getting Amari Cooper, I'm getting Joe Mixon, and I'm getting Cam Akers. So definitely my strategy selling high. I don't think I'm going to see – I got Mostert's best game that I'm going to see. So, that's – good on Ricky. I hope he still has a productive year, but I'm banking on Cam Akers to potentially take over that Minnesota backfield. We'll see what happens there. It could be a timeshare. But Joe Mixon, I know, is the only number one running back on the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's what I'm banking on there is he's going to get all the work, 15 to 20 touches a game. That's what I'm looking for, opportunity. So, and if the offense starts to get, their heads out of their butts, you're going to see them run up some pretty high scores, and then they'll be running the ball late in the game. So that's what it is. But Cody, let's talk about your running back pickup of the week, and someone that's near and dear to my heart. It stung when I saw the score because I did drop him before this week for someone else. But go ahead, talk about him.
I mean, what more is there to say? I mean, Devon Achane, he went ahead and just dominated it was the starters. The defensive starters were still out there for the Broncos that he was running on. He's got, I think at the combine, it was 4.32 speed. He's just a track out there. Anytime they get the ball to him in space, it is a risky play just because there is Jeff Wills coming back and Ahmed coming back as well. So where does he fit into that running back field? But sometimes you got to take that risk Put some fab down on him, maybe something in the 20s, just because if Mostert, who is a guy with a well-renowned, well-documented injury history, same with Jeff Wilson, gets hurt and he starts to get more of those touches, he can really be a league winner for you. He's worth a pickup and just keep it on your bench. Sometimes if the projections aren't favoring you and you need a big game, throw him out there. He could just any random game, he could get 3 touches and 2 of them could be 60-yard touchdowns. So it is a high risk play, but you have to know that going into making the play on him. If Mostert does get hurt, then he really will be expensive. And maybe you can, there's been 2 trades, which is rare in this league. Trades don't often happen. So maybe you can then trade him to someone else and get some value back for him. But, go pick him up. He's worth it. Could be a league winner, or he could just kind of be on your bench getting 1 to 2 carries, just like he did in weeks 1 and 2. So I don't know. It's high risk, but it's worth the risk, really.
It is. What about you? What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, now that we've seen what he could do, it seems it's hard to fathom that they wouldn't give him the ball more. But it is a committee, obviously. Raheem Mostert's been excellent as well, so he's not going to just suddenly take it over. But but if Mostert gets hurt, if Wilson comes back and gets hurt again, which Wilson seems to be hurt all the time, even more than Mostert, then at worst it might be a 50-50 split. But he's a guy who
valuable.
He had so many every time he touched the ball. Like he had a 60-yard touchdown run, I think 60 plus. I think he had a long touchdown catch too. A couple short little touchdown catches near the goal. I mean, it's hard to even remember all the big plays that happened in that game. But it's pretty impressive though. He looked really good.
And their offense is always going to be a positive game script, right? And so you expect them to be up by 20 points a game. If that happens, of course, both running backs need to get a ton of plays. So that was my thing. Is I didn't want to deal with the splitting. And again, if I had both of them on my roster, I'm going to have to decide who to play. I didn't want to deal with that headache. And so now they're both off my roster. Go for that.
There you go.
But yeah, Tim, let's talk about your running back pickup of the week.
Yeah, so Zach Charbonnet, I believe I'm pronouncing his name right. He got a good amount of work in this last game, and it was close for the most part until the Seahawks pulled away at the end. But it was around 45-55 split with Kenneth Walker. He had a highlight reel. I don't know if you guys saw him just truck the guy, made him go flying out of the end zone. Yeah. And he was great in college. And you've mentioned, Kenneth Walker, somewhat injury prone. If Kenneth Walker goes down, he could be a potential league winner. He's that good. So, but obviously for now it's going to be, maybe at best a split, but still, could be a good pickup. So, and
yeah, no, I 100% agree with you there. I love Charbonnet in college. UCLA fan, watched him a lot. I think the Seahawks have always done this, right? They don't like the one running back. I mean, only Marshawn Lynch really did that. Even when Lynch was there, though, they had the guy who was a third down back get some work too. So they like this committee structure. I think it's better for both these running backs if they kind of split time and keep both of themselves healthy. What I do like about Kenneth Walker, though, and what I've really watched these games closely is inside the 10, it's Kenneth Walker's getting those touches. I haven't seen Charbonnet get those touches yet inside the 10. So right now, Walker is the goal line back, which again, in our league, that does hold a little bit more value, right? But if it's in the middle of the field between the 20s, Charbonnet is definitely going to get some play there. And he has the potential to break into the house. That's the difference there.
Yeah, and he was getting carries. I forget, I think he had around 14 carries or something like that this week. And, he was getting carries in the first half. It wasn't like he came in garbage time. So maybe they're going to work him in a little bit more as the year goes along. But yeah, the goal line carries are definitely where it's at. So
yeah,
as long as Walker's healthy, he'll probably stay that. But I don't know, after that, after what he did to that poor Panthers defender, who knows if they'll put him in the goal line too? Because I can't remember seeing a guy get sent flying like that by a running back in the NFL recently. That was pretty impressive.
All right. So, all right, here's a question for both of you. Charbonnet or Achan for the rest of the season outlook?
Go ahead, Tim.
I would definitely lean Achan just based on what I just watched. The Seahawks are a good offense, but if you get a running back and probably the best offense in the league who's going to be getting around half the snaps, that's a lot more valuable than a guy who needs the guy in front of him to get hurt to really see more playing time. So definitely Achan for me.
I was leaning Charbonnet actually, which is funny because we had actually picked the opposite running back on our waiver target. But I was leaning Charbonnet just because I think he's built a little better, as you saw from that, the play for the NFL. I mean, Achan, I think he's like 175, 180 pounds, which is small even for small running backs. So if they start giving him more touches, I would still be concerned with his durability, and then you'd be looking to pick up another running back. Obviously, there's no denying the explosiveness, but if we're looking season long, I think I would rather have Charbonnet, especially if those touches do kind of become more 50-50 like the snaps are. He's in on third downs, kind of pass blocking for Geno, so we could start seeing his reception spike, which in that case his fantasy points would spike as well. So I think he'll end up with more snaps than Achan over the year, and I think he's got a better durability outlook.
Yep. Yeah, he's definitely more the prototypical size. He's 6 foot 215, I think, something like that. So, and looks the part. So who knows? It's tough to say.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why I said
have a lot of space to work.
Yeah,
with.
no, that is a good one to put out there, and it is funny. We each took the one the other guy had on.
You
his
took the
waiver.
opposite. It worked out exactly as I wanted it to. Yeah, and for me, I probably take Charbonnet long term. Right, Achan, I think is that committee. I love their coach, but he is so sneaky and he's going to play all kinds of different people all the time, where I think Pete Carroll's more of I'm going to play my two running backs and that's it, right? DJ Dallas is not going to get any run. And the Seahawks have always been known to be a running team. That's what they build their bread and butter on. So I'm going to stick with Charbonnet for a season-long pick. But, going to my running back now, very unsexy pick, unlook, but Rico Dowdle, right? So I'm the Tony Pollard owner, and the only reason I'm looking at Rico is because Tony Pollard is getting a massive amount of work. Tony Pollard has touched the ball 74 times in 3 weeks. All that tells me is, oh my goodness, he's going to be wore down late in the year. And you saw it in this game. They were in a negative game script, Dallas was, and they leaned on Rico. They actually threw the ball out to him in the backfield. He made some great catches. He's good out of the backfield, just as good as Pollard. He got space to work with, and he looked good with the ball. So if you're the Pollard owner, or if you're someone who's looking for a deep flex and a deep, Dallas is not going to be typically in a game script like that. And I don't see them running Pollard into the ground. So I'd see Rico Dowdle getting some work here as bye weeks come along and those things. So you're trying to set up your potential, roster to have some flex there. So that's why I'm looking at Rico Dowdle. And 2 touchdowns this weekend. So he was good.
Yeah, especially as the Pollard, the Pollard manager, you would want to have the person who would just completely take over behind that offensive line in a strong offense as on your bench, just in case something does happen to Pollard. Boom, you don't have to worry about spending an absorbent amount of fab money to get the backup. Javi might have room for another Cowboy. This might be the one that he adds. I know once Barkley comes back, he won't need Breida anymore, so we might be able to see Javi make another Cowboy add to his team.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I considered him for my waiver pick, but then look closer at Charbonnet's game and what went down, and then saw that highlight of him trucking that guy and was like, this guy looks kind of like a beast. So
yeah. Oh yeah, he's a beast. My wide receiver, I'll go wide receiver and tight end together just to kind of speed this up. Adam Thielen, I know it's ugly, it's gross, he's like really old, he can't really move like he could when he was in Minnesota, but he's been productive. You look at his stat line over all 3 weeks, very productive, even catching close to the line of scrimmage. Adam Thielen is available in 54% of leagues. So pretty amazing that he is. He's definitely going to be a top wire addition. Andy Dalton's going to be throwing to him. Andy Dalton, we know, is a single receiver look type of dude. So Adam Thielen, fire him up. And my tight end, Donald Parham, it's ugly again, not great. The tight end position in our league, again, is so touchdown dependent. Parham has 3 touchdowns in 3 games. I mean, so it seems like when they get in the red zone, Parham is 7 feet? I don't even know. The guy is humongous.
6'8".
6'8". But Justin Herbert chucks that ball up high. He's the only one getting hands on it. So it's definitely a target favorite of his, and that's what you're banking on when you're getting Parham. But that's again in a league that really is touchdown dependent. Tight ends are tough to come by. There's only about 4 good ones in the league, and Sam Laporta is actually tight end number 1 on the season, which is shocking. So good on Sam Laporta from Detroit. I hope that keeps up for him. We want to see more good tight ends come into the league. But yeah, so those are my 2. Tim, what about you?
Yeah. Well, we both picked Chargers tight ends, interestingly enough. But so for wide receiver, the lone bright spot for the Broncos, especially this last week, seems to make a big play every week, at least once. Marvin Mims had a kickoff return. I believe he returned a kickoff for a touchdown, and he had 3 catches for around 70 yards. He had a big game last week as well. And I just think that with the Broncos, their receivers, Cortland Sutton's been around forever. He's, got some good numbers so far, but he's just hasn't really shown. I don't believe he's really a true number 1. Jerry Jeudy, I believe he got drafted ahead of Justin Jefferson, which is, just a tragedy. So I think, Marvin Mims, so far with the big playability he has, the Broncos, their defense is atrocious this year. They're probably going to be behind in a lot of games. He'll probably be the guy making, 1 or 2 big plays a week for him because no one else seems to be doing it. And then Gerald Everett, just based on Mike Williams going down, I think he may get a little bit more involved. He's been kind of splitting snaps with Parham. He's more athletic, and they're playing the Raiders this week. He had pretty good games against them last year, and I think he'll get a little bit, at least maybe 1 or 2 more targets a week going forward, unless one of the other wide receivers steps up. So, he's not getting the touchdowns. Donald Parham, I think, has more touchdowns than yards this year, but hopefully he'll be able to get one against the Raiders this week.
Go ahead, Cody. Let's see how Java's got for those 2 selections.
So then, for receiver, kind of picking up where Tim left off with the Mike Williams injury, I went with Josh Palmer there for the Los Angeles Chargers. With Mike Williams out, he actually kind of just took over that role, and he was in on 100% of the snaps once he was taken off the field. So even though he's not as athletic, he's not as tall, he's not as strong, not as good looking as Mike Williams, he's going to get the volume. He's going to be out there. So I think Herbert, he's such a good QB. Once people start shifting coverage over to Allen, it's going to open up Palmer and he's not a bad receiver. It's going to open up Palmer to get a lot of that volume. He's going to get a lot of end zone looks as well. Maybe not goal line looks like Parham does, but I think once Eckler comes back, opens up that running game, you'll have Palmer kind of running in behind off the play action. So he would be a guy I would look to pick up and spend a decent amount of fab on, something in maybe the high teens, low 20s, just because of the volume that can be there. And then Jake Ferguson, he's just a boring tight end, boring name, plays for the Cowboys. He dropped a touchdown in week 1. I think he got tackled at like the 3-yard line in week 3. So he's come close to getting a couple extra touchdowns here. But he has 18 targets, which would be 5th, I believe, in among all tight ends. So he's getting the volume. When it comes to looking at waiver targets, you really have to just start making volume plays and hope for the best. Maybe some of those drops turn into catches, and all of a sudden he turns into a low tight end 1, just because the tight end free agency pool is such a graveyard out there. You might want to just take a shot on him.
Love it. Yeah, shot in the dark. I mean, yeah, we know Dak loves to throw tight end. He's very good at that. So that's
especially
a great dart.
3rd downs.
Oh yeah. Go ahead and round it up with your defense for the week.
All right, so I went with the Texans. They're playing the Steelers, so they get Pickett coming in. With D'Amico Ryans as their head coach, he's really got that team playing with confidence, and he's a defensive coach, so they're kind of mimicking his style, and they're playing really well. I can see Pickett kind of giving a couple balls over to the Texans defense, getting a couple turnovers. The offensive line for the Steelers aren't great, so they can get a few sacks. Najee Harris doesn't scare me slightly, so I went with the Texans simply because of their matchup against Pittsburgh, and their team kind of playing with confidence, and their young team, so they're still growing and getting better. So I look forward to seeing what they can do against this kind of weak and fragile Steelers offense.
Nice.
Yeah, they just they just held the Jags. Again, it's hard to say if it's the Texans defense or Jags offense, but I mean, what was it? 34-17, I think was the final.
Yeah,
in that
and
game,
they did pretty well against Lamar as well. Held Lamar down too. Yeah.
So, and like you said, the Steelers just, they had one big touchdown this week against the Raiders, that long touchdown, but otherwise really
uninspiring.
Don't scare anybody. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Damn, I love your pick for the week. That was just when I was going back and forth with on. Talk about the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, mainly because they're playing the Tennessee this week. Tennessee's offense is just not good this year, except for against the Chargers for whatever reason. Ryan Tannehill looked like a Pro Bowl quarterback, but they just lost 27-3 to Cleveland. The Bengals defense has, they're pretty solid. They don't have, they have, what's his name? Hendrickson. It's a good pass rusher. The Rams last night decided to let their backup tackle just try to block him one-on-one all night for whatever reason.
Six sacks on the night. Yeah, 6 sacks. That's 6 points right there. It's money.
Yeah. And if, they shut down the run fairly well. If you can slow down Derrick Henry and force Tennessee to pass, I like them to get a couple turnovers. I think it should probably be an easy win for the Bengals. Tennessee's hard to predict, though. Every once in a while they surprise and beat a team that they probably shouldn't, but I don't expect that to happen this week.
See, I see Tennessee as a team this year that's going to take the step back. What I haven't seen that explosive from Derrick Henry. The defense, they used to be something they hang their hat on. They don't look. They stopped to run well, but they've been getting passed on so easily. Everyone passes on them. So I'm definitely not sold. I agree with you that it could be a long day for Tannehill against that defense. Yeah. My pick, Seattle. I know it's a Seattle road game heading over to the New York Giants, but there is no one on that New York Giants squad that scares anyone. I mean, they don't have Saquon there. Their wide receiving core is probably one of the worst. Yeah, they got Danny Dimes, who's maybe going to throw to Waller a little bit, and Daniel Jones has some legs move that he could do, but I see Seattle keeping him in check. It's going to be a negative game script right away for Giants, right? Just like San Francisco did to them, get them down early, force Danny Dimes to make some mistakes. We were shocked, right, that there was only one pick in that game the whole night. I foresee a couple picks that the Seahawks might turn one into a big TD. So especially after a big win last week, Seahawks are going to rely on that defense, leverage their running game, and they're going to kind of just move along easily in this game. The Giants have a lot of problems right now.
Well, with the Giants having played last week on Thursday, it gives them a few extra days rest. If Barkley ends up playing, you still going to go with Seattle, or do you then kind of make a change there if it's announced that he's in from that ankle sprain?
I'd probably pivot, to the Bengals at that point. Even the Bucks maybe, but because I expect Jameis Winston to throw a couple picks, even though he will have a good game. He's always good for a couple picks, so they could turn one of those into a touchdown. But yeah, I mean, if Saquon plays again, it was reported that he had a normal ankle sprain, and then what happened right before the game? Oh, it's a high ankle sprain. Yeah. We all know high ankle sprain is like 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes longer. And is he going to have that explosiveness? I don't think so, unless he gets shut up with the cortisone. So I still like Seattle to dominate them in that, because they're going to force Danny Dimes to throw the ball. So
nice, yeah.
I still remember having Saquon Barkley I don't know if it was last year, a couple years ago. He had that fluky play, like he stepped on a defender's foot and sprained his ankle.
Ago. Yeah.
And he missed like a month and a half. It was like every week too, it seemed like he might come back and play. And then he ends up missing like 5 or 6 games. And that was frustrating. So I don't know. I'd be surprised if he plays this week, but I don't know that he, obviously he helps the offense, but I still don't think the Giants win either way. I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
All right. So let's round this off. We had our eliminator picks going, but Cody already wiped Tim and me off the board after week 3. So good job, Cody. Well done. We'll get back to it next week. Yeah. The Rams I thought would have put up a much better game against Bengals, but I was wrong there. And Tim picked his Raiders. He wanted to put his old AFC West curse on.
My pick was tongue in cheek. I forgot to tell you guys. Yeah, I was picking them sarcastically. Yeah.
But this week's pick'em games. As I went down the full slate of games going on for the weekend, I saw this game and I almost spit the water out of my mouth. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the must win of must wins of must wins. I mean, and it's actually a must lose because I think each team's trying to get the number 1 pick. So who's, the lame of the week? Who's going to be the team that messes up and wins this game? 46 points total, implied point total for both these teams, which I think is a shocking number. We're saying that both teams are going to score over 20 points. Denver offenses maybe, but from what I've seen, Chicago offense, oh my goodness, putrid. So I mean, I thought this would be a 39.5 point, line. I was wrong. Apparently, they're expecting 0 defense in this game. Vegas. Where do you guys stand with this? I know, Tim, you wanted to make the judgment call live on the air, so let's hear your thoughts with this one.
I still don't know. I don't know how you pick this game. I mean, it seems like it should be obvious that the Broncos would win. They have a lot more talent. But I just don't know. I think the high or the over under seems suspiciously high. It's like they're begging people to take the under because they know. I mean, Vegas knows better than we do. So I feel like it could end up being a high scoring game. This could be the first time that the Bears actually put some points up on offense. But this seems like a spot where the Bears probably somehow win, but it's just I don't want to pick either of them. But I guess if I'm forced to, I'll pick the Bears just because I think the Broncos defense, after you give up 70 points, even if it was the best offense in the league, I haven't seen a team even score 60 in my lifetime that I could remember. Yeah. So they clearly can't stop anybody. They've got a lot of issues there. So I'll go with the Bears.
Nice.
Not a bad pick. I'm actually going with the Broncos. They are on the road, but coming off that 70, the defense giving up 70 points. I mean, that game alone helped hide the fact the Bears defense gave up 41. It was to the Chiefs, another great offense, but I mean, still, that would have been the next highest total after the 7-0 you see on the screen. Like Tim mentioned, they have better talent. They practice at Mile High Stadium, so they're probably better conditioned as well. They got a better quarterback, I would think, better receivers. Surtain can take out DJ Moore, so I don't really know what Fields is going to be able to do. The total's 46, which is higher than I think the Patriots Jets last week. The total was at 35, and it still went under. Maybe we should have done streaming for kickers because I would pick up both the kickers here. They might actually be the highest scoring fantasy, players on both teams. I'm going with the Broncos. Their defense probably is looking to bounce back from that embarrassment, so I think they're going to play with a little more pride. Their defensive coordinator is not getting investigated by the FBI, so I guess that's one less distraction they have going on. I'm gonna ride with the Broncos. Let's ride.
All right, look at that, Russell Wilson as a fan. Good for you, Cody. I'm going with Tim here with the Bears, and for a number of factors. And what I saw last week the Broncos do give up in the running game, I'm firing up Khalil Herbert. If I'm the Khalil Herbert manager, if I'm the Roshan Johnson, if I'm the Justin Fields manager, I don't know why you throw the ball. You just run. I mean, because I checked this before we hopped on here today. I looked to make sure that the Broncos were 32nd against the rush, then 32nd against the rush. So, very easily identified. Everybody can run on the Broncos. I don't know why you would pass on them. So at home, Bears, this is a game to get it right. They've been holding Justin Fields back for some reason. I don't know why. So if Eberflus is smart, literally you go through those first 3 offensive series, you don't even throw a pass. You just run after run after run, force them to try to stop you. And once they stack that box, Justin Fields finally going to have a one-on-one matchup with someone. We might see an Allen Robinson touchdown in this game. That's how. Oh, not Allen Robinson. He's on Pittsburgh.
Remarkable.
Rowdy remarkable. No, DJ Moore, but the second wide receiver on the Bears, who no one knows their name because he's never seen the ball this season. So
Mooney.
Yeah. Darnell Mooney.
You were focused on the Broncos, but did you know that the Bears were the 3rd weakest team against the run? So it's not like it's much better. It could be a big Javonte Williams game, his breakout game, maybe.
I haven't seen the juice out of Javonte. He's been okay, but he hasn't really had that explosiveness. I think he's still, not letting it go. Coming back from an Achilles injury, it's, tough for a running back. I think by week 6, 7, he'll be in full form. He did come back earlier than projected, right? That was the thing with him. So I still see that lingering effect. I don't know what to do. I just think the Bears are primed to finally, win a game. And, the Broncos are really, if you think about it, in much worse shape than the Bears are, because the Broncos have an aging quarterback. We know Russell Wilson's on the decline for some reason. For them to get a chance at Caleb Williams makes complete sense, right? So I think there's going to be some things done, right? Do you think Sean Payton wants to stick with Russell Wilson next season? I don't.
I don't even know if he wants to stick with them the rest of this season. If they lose to the Bears, I would expect Stidham to come out in week 5. I think Russ would get benched if they end up losing to the Bears and put up a bad offensive performance against this even worse defense. I could see Russ getting benched this season, next week, and it'd be the Stidham show. They went and signed Stidham in the offseason. So Peyton clearly likes him, asked them to bring him in. So we might be able to see that if the Broncos do go down here.
Yep.
And, for me, it's just the Bears have played respectable defenses to this point. They obviously haven't looked good at all, but, they've had 2 road games at Tampa Bay, at Kansas City. They played Green Bay week 1. The Broncos in the last 80, or we'll call it, let's see, around 82 minutes, they've given up. They were winning 21-3 against Washington, and then ended up giving up 32 points in the last 32 minutes of that game. And then they just dropped 70. So they've given up 102 points in the last game and a half, basically.
6 quarters.
Which is just, unfathomable that an NFL defense could be that bad, especially one that they were one of the top, I think maybe top 5 in points against last year. And for them to be suddenly this awful this year is just, it's kind of shocking. But if the Bears can't get right against them, then they're not going to get right against anyone. So, but same could be said for the Broncos. You could say the same for either team. So it's just an ugly game.
Or lame of the week, really.
Lame of the week, yeah. So get ready for 50+ points in the right, guys. Get ready for 50 points. It's gonna be an exciting game. It'll be game of the week after all this bashing that we did on them. Typical NFL.
That's how it works.
I might have to start Fields. I don't know. I'm still on the fence, but
just keep telling yourself that stat. Past 6 quarters, huh? That many points? How do I not start him?
All right, guys. Well, great show. Good stuff. Loved it. Great selections. Good luck this week. And to League, good luck out there. Be ready to go. Watch those waivers go through. I want to see who spends 50% of their fab on Achan. So we'll see what happens there. Woo. All right, but have a good one. Enjoy the games next week. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
Adios.
Later.
Later.